Hi everyone, my name is Cory and welcome back to another episode of Talking Cardboard. If you are new to the channel and you like what you see here, please consider subscribing. We really appreciate it. And as always, if you leave comments below, we'd love to hear from you. So let's get into today's video. So this list is the top 10 board games that nobody really talks about anymore. And I'm ready for this to have some controversy and a little bit of gray area. I'm ready for the comments to come flooding in on whether or not you agree or probably more often disagree. But I am ready to hear your thoughts on this list. I'm creating this list in a little bit of a unique way where I'm taking my top favorite game from the last 10 years that nobody talks about from each of the last 10 years. So working up from the year 2010 up to 2019. Let's get started. So the first game on my list is from 2010. It's a little bit of a cheater on the list, I have to admit, because people still do tend to talk about this game quite often, but there weren't any other games from 2010 that aren't talked about very often that I enjoyed as much as I enjoy this game. So I kind of had to put it on the list as a little bit of a cheat here. Also through this list, I just wanted to mention here real quick as well that I am going over the one pro that really makes the game as excellent as it is for me. I don't want to make this video super long. I just want to go over maybe my top pro that makes the game so great for me and then move on to the next. So starting with game number 10 in the year 2010, it is Trois. So my favorite pro from Trois, I have on my list here, buy dice from opponents. My favorite mechanism about this game is that you are all rolling out dice, each of you and your opponents in front of you in your own little zone, and you can do various pretty much worker placement actions with these dice to activate different special effects and abilities to generate enough victory points to beat your opponent. But like I said, my favorite is buying dice from your opponents. There's not a lot of other games that allow you to buy dice willingly or unwillingly from your opponent. You can literally, if you like one of their dice better than your dice, you can buy it straight from them and they have to give it to you, and then you can go ahead and use that. So anyway, that is my favorite thing that I find unique and really fun to play about Trois. All right, moving on to the next game on my list. It's a game from the year 2011, and that game is Dungeon Fighter. So this game is just pure silliness all around. It's a cooperative game where you're going through a dungeon trying to complete beating monsters and bosses to get to the end of the dungeon and eventually win. I've never made it all the way through alive. It's a very difficult game, but the one major pro I have for this game, trick shots with dice onto a target. So it's all about using these combat dice to kill these monsters, but as the monsters get more and more difficult, you have to complete different trick shots, like either off of your elbow or off of your shoulder or flicking it or bouncing it once or twice off of the table before it lands on the target. And wherever it lands on the target in the middle of the board on the table is how much damage you deal to these monsters. So it's just pure silliness, pure fun. My brothers and friends tend to enjoy this game a lot more than I do, but I still do enjoy this one, and I think this is a game that is overlooked, and maybe a lot of you don't even know what this game is. Obviously, that's why it's on the list. It's just not talked about anymore, and it is pure fun. It can work with younger kids, older adults, can work with families, all different age ranges, and I think everybody can have fun with this game. So that game is Dungeon Fighter. The next game on my list is from the year 2012, and that game is Smash Up. So Smash Up, my pro for that is you combine two completely different factions into one deck. It is kind of an area control game where you have a specified number of areas in the middle of the table. It's a competitive game where you are adding this combat value or attack damage to these different zones on the table, and the person who can get to that threshold first overtakes that zone, and you get points for it. I believe the first person up to like 15 points wins the game, and then, like I said, you get different points for different zones. But the fun thing in this game, like I said, my biggest pro for this game, and the whole lot of fun that has to do with this game, is you can take two completely opposite factions and combine them into one deck. You shuffle them both together, and that is the the deck you're playing with for the whole game. You're drawing a hand of cards, using the cards the best you can to your benefit. As they play off of each other, you are looking for various combos on how they work with one another. I mean, you can have everything as silly as from like dinosaurs and pirates to aliens and bears. Just completely different factions, and that's kind of the fun in this game, and kind of the neat little treasure hidden gem that I find in this game is that it's fun finding the different combos with two completely different factions in every game, and there's like 250 different expansion factions for this game already. I know that's an over-exaggeration, but literally there are just tens and tens and tens of expansions that add various factions to keep the game fresh. So that game is Smash Up. Next game on my list from the year 2013 is Coal Baron. Coal Baron is criminally underrated, and I wish it was a game that I heard about more often because I do love introducing this game to new players. It's a whole lot of fun. It is more on the light to middleweight side, so definitely not too complex for new gamers at all, and I really enjoy it. My big pro for this game is, I said, it is a puzzle of getting coal through the mine and up the elevator. That's just a whole lot of fun to me because you've got this centralized board where you've got these worker placement actions. You are trying to get coal carts into your mine shafts to transport coal to the elevator shaft. And there's a special action on the main board that allows you to move the elevator up and down to pick up coal and eventually move it to the top and transport it out on these different transports that are required to transport different types of coal. And the better you can do that, the more points you score and win the game. Very simple to teach. Another simple but strategy is complex enough to keep bringing you back for more and more in a game that is still in my collection and has been in my collection for a long time, and one you should definitely check out. That's Coal Baron. Moving on to my game from the year 2014, it is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. So in Castles of Mad King Ludwig, it is a tile placement game where you're building out your own castle, and you are connecting these rooms in your castle based on different requirements. So if you have a loud, noisy music room attached to a sleeping quarters, those are going to give you negative points. But if you have that connected to maybe more of like a dance room or like a more party rooms, or you're kind of keeping the rooms together for what they're meant to be together, you get positive points for that. So it's fun building out your castle and seeing it built and really comboing the different rooms with where they're supposed to be. And the big pro I put for this game is the start player sets pricing for the opponent. And then with the leftover tiles, the value that you had set for those, you then get an opportunity to purchase those tiles for yourself. So it's kind of, you set the price and your opponents choose what to buy. If there's a tile you really want, you might want to set the price higher so your opponent doesn't really want to spend the money on it for themselves, so then it's left over for you to buy. But if you set the price too high, then you have to spend the money to purchase that tile that you want. But if you set the price too low, then your opponent is more enticed to buy that tile for themselves, which is also not good if you want the tile. So anyway, that is an awesome mechanism that, I know I say this a lot, but that a mechanism that I don't see done very often in games that I wish was done more, because it's just a ton of fun. It's kind of the I pick, you choose mechanism, or I set the price, you choose what to buy mechanism. But in this game, it takes it a step further, because whatever's left over after your opponents buy tiles, those same set prices are the prices that you have to purchase the tiles for as well. So anyway, that is Castles of Mad King Ludwig. Moving on to my game pick for the year 2015, it is Broom Service. A criminally underrated game, one of my favorite games of all time. My big pro for this game is push your luck with brave or cowardly action. So what that means is that everybody starts with the same hand of cards in the beginning of the game. Each round, you can only choose a set number of cards for your hand for that round. But based on what you pick, that can determine how well you do for that round. Being that a very unique mechanism, every time you play a card, it has two different actions on it. It has either the brave action or the cowardly action. Why that's so cool is that if you choose the cowardly action for that card, it's all fine and dandy. You get the benefit on the card no matter what. Now here's where the brave action comes in. If you choose the brave action, it is a similar action to that cowardly action, but it steps it up one and gives you a lot more for bang for your buck for that action. But the other thing is that the earlier you play that card in a round, the other opponents around the table, if they have that same card in their hand, they can then play it down for the brave action. And the last player around the table to play it as a brave, to play that card as a brave action, gets the action, and everybody else before them that chose brave doesn't get to do anything at all. So it's a completely wasted turn. A super, super, super fun mechanism that I just love to bits. It's just so much fun. I've had fun every time playing this game. It has never gone wrong. Another on the medium weight, so you can definitely teach new gamers how to play this as well. It definitely benefits from multiple plays as you get more used to maybe what cards people are choosing depending on the different situation that you're in. But one that's extremely fun. You can always choose, like I said, you can always choose that cowardly action. Even if somebody else did the brave action, you have that same card, you can always do that cowardly action to automatically get some goods, and you don't have to worry about having a wasted turn. But it's just fun once in a while to push your luck and to just go for the brave and see what happens. So that is Broom Service. All right, on to the next game on the list. It is from the year 2016, and this game is Automobiles. It is a Euro-style racing game with cubes. You're big building with cubes. My big pro that I put down for this is just that. Big building colored cubes to race. You've got these cards with different actions that are associated with different colored cubes. Based on what color cube you pull out of the bag, that's what you can do with it to further your car around the racetrack. The fun in this is deciding how to build your bag to pull those different colored cubes when you need them to better take the turns or to speed ahead past your opponent when you need to, and just create the necessary space to get around your opponent when you need to get around them. It is one of those racing games that is the only bag building racing game that I know of, and I just think that mechanism of bag building along with the racing element is really fun. It's fun to feel like you're different than your opponents. You chose to add different cubes at different times to your bag, so your bag, or essentially your car, is unique to you. Neither better or worse than your opponents based on your decisions. So that is what I really like about the game Automobiles. All right, and just a few more games left to go. The next on my list is from the year 2017, and that game is Chimera Station. A game I just played a couple nights ago with my wife again, a mainstay in my collection. A game in which I wish had an expansion, but I just don't think it got enough love maybe to warrant an expansion. Maybe it had an expansion, but they didn't release it because like I've said before, I don't hear people talking about this game at all. And I think it is another game that is criminally underrated, and that one that if you haven't tried should give a try because it is just uniquely awesome again. My major pro I have written down for this game is genetically modify alien workers. So that pretty much sums it up. You are cooperatively building out this space station out in space with tiles. And the tiles give you different actions to generate either money or burgers to feed your aliens. That's the food in this game. And you're balancing the feeding your workers with the money to buy new tiles to generate victory points in different ways. After 5 rounds, the person with the most victory points wins. But like I said in my major pro is you have genetically modified alien pieces as your workers. Like in most worker placement games, all the workers are the same. Or like in viticulture, for example, you have a grande worker that's a little bit different than the rest of your workers, but for the majority, 95% of them, they are all the same. In this game, every single one can eventually be unique. I say eventually because at the beginning of the game, you all start with the same type of worker. They're all just basic aliens that you can send out to do basic actions with. But there are different spots that you can splice and genetically modify different body parts onto these aliens, and it makes them all unique. Every single one of your workers can be unique to your opponent's workers. You've got tentacles that grab extra resources for you. You have leaf hands that makes it so you don't have to feed that worker during the feeding round. They can just eat leaves off their hands and feed themselves. You have claws that can bump other people off of worker placement spots so they can't block that spot from you. And you also have brains that you can add onto your aliens that give you victory points every time you go to a worker placement spot. Because typically you only get those victory points for building the tile, but then if you want to get them again, just put a brain on one of your workers. It's as simple as that. So anyway, that's my pick for 2017. That is Chimera Station. All right, and moving on to the last two games on my list for today. This is a game from the year 2018, and this game is Gizmos. I know Gizmos was talked about a lot when it first came out, and then it just dropped off the table and nobody ever cared about it ever again anymore. The big pro I have for Gizmos is you gather energy marbles to trigger chain reactions. Really cool game. You have a marble dispenser, and you can take different colored marbles from that dispenser to put into your energy ring. You save those marbles until you use them to buy different robot cards in modifications that you can place in front of you, and you're triggering actions and comboing with each one of those. You are trying to build out this tableau in front of you of unique mechanisms that work well together. Like, for example, the next time you pull a black marble, if you had built something that says every time you pull a black marble, you automatically gain a yellow marble from the supply as well. Well, there is a combo all in itself. And then you might have another one that says anytime you pull a yellow marble, go ahead and take a marble of your choice. And then those different colored marbles gets you to buy better and better cards to put in front of you, and those cards generate victory points. This game is just fun trying to find those combos that maybe your opponents didn't see, or grabbing those combos before your opponents can, and just being the first to get the better hand of cards that works well in front of yourself. So that game is Gizmos. Last game on my list just came out late last year in 2019, and this game is Abomination: Heir to Frankenstein. I think this game might be kind of unpopular or not talked about as much right now, or maybe it'll resurface again as more and more people get this game for this coming Halloween and try it out for themselves. I think it's because of its gruesome content. It's very mature, bloody, gruesome, gory, dead bodies, hollowed out graves, bones that you're gathering. You can actually go to a back alley to murder people to get their body parts to build your best Frankenstein monster. Oh, and the game takes 3 to 4 hours. So that's another thing too. Every single time we've played, it's at least taken 3 or more hours, and not everybody has the time in the night to play that. But if you stick it out, if the theme doesn't bother you, or if you like the gruesome horror Halloween type theme that this provides, and you're okay with sticking it out for 3 hours, I guarantee you will have fun with it. It is a worker placement game, like a lot of these games on the list, where literally you're going out and trying to get body parts to use them and gather blood and have them not decay before you use them on your board, because they can decay over time. And if they decay all the way before you can use them, you have to throw them away and then they're no good. You can buy blocks of ice that you can keep the body parts on ice so they don't go bad and last longer. But if you can get the right combination of blood and body parts to combine them into a body part that you can use for your Frankenstein monster, and then you're able to put skin on the body. So yeah, very gruesome. Like I said, and once the body has skin on it, or the body part has skin on it, you can then try to shock it to life. And the better you build out these body parts, the better you get skin on your body, and the better you can shock this thing to life, the more victory points you get. And like I said, if you stick it out through the 3 to 4 hours this game takes to play, and the theme does not bother you, I guarantee you will have a ton of fun, and you will feel like you've accomplished a lot by the end of the game, because it just took a lot of time, a lot of effort to build this Frankenstein's body, and it's just really fun to see what you've built by the end of the game. So anyway, that is today's list, my top 10 favorite games that nobody ever hardly talks about anymore from the last 10 years, from 2010 to 2019. A long title. I don't know what I'm going to put as the official title for this YouTube video yet, because I don't know what else to call it, but I hope you had fun watching this list. I definitely had fun making the list. And like I said in the intro too, if you did enjoy it, please consider subscribing to the channel. We really appreciate it. And like always, if you leave comments below, we will make sure to respond back to you, because we do like the back and forth conversation. So you all have a great day, and thanks for watching.